All right, Chris, looking at South Carolina and their season grade for this year, why don't you go first? Talk to me a little bit about how their offense did this year.
Yeah, South Carolina, by the way, finished 5-7. Vegas had them at 6.5 or 7 wins this year. Offensively, though, was a struggle this year for South Carolina, and I think Gamecock fans would agree. 26 points per game, not great. That was 77th in the country. In the SEC, you got to be able to put up some points. Offensively, though, Christian, they were very up and down. It was weird against North Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, A&M, and Clemson. They never scored more than 20 points. Now, I know those teams are decent teams. Some of those are very, very good teams, obviously, but you got to be able to put up 20 points or more in today's game if you want to win. That's just the analytics nowadays. But overall, I thought Spencer Rattler played well this season. I do. I really do. He had a better year than he did the year before. He had over 3,000 yards, almost 70% completion rate, which is pretty damn good in the SEC. 19 TDs to go with 8 interceptions. Now, we'd like to see that touchdown number a little higher, but I don't really think that was his fault, considering the fact they could not run the ball this year. South Carolina was 128th in the country in rushing. Mind you, there is 133 teams in D1. That is god-awful. So a lot was put on Spencer Rattler and his arm to pretty much carry this team this year. Like I said, if they've been playing in the Big Ten West or some of those played some ACC schools, it probably would have helped them out. But when you're in the SEC, Christian, it's tough. And I want to add to this with South Carolina real quick before you talk about their defense. They did have a really tough schedule this year. South Carolina did. I know a lot of people expected them to win 7 or 8 games. I was one of those people. Christian, I think you expected them to be pretty good this season. But, Shane Beamer overachieved, in my opinion, the first 2 years there. I think that was probably part of it. I think he underachieved a little bit this year. But let's talk about the defense, Christian. I'll let you inform me on that.
Yeah, Chris, South Carolina's defense, they finished ranked 88th in total defense this year. They also finished 67th in points per game allowed, giving up 26.8 points a game. The biggest issue was definitely the pass defense, all right? 106th in passing yards allowed every single game, just overall. The low point of the season for me, Chris, really was that Florida game, right? They gave up 41 points, and they made Graham Mertz look unstoppable. Not that he wasn't good this year, but he wasn't that good, right?
Right.
So the highlight of the season on the flip side of that was beating Georgia for a half, I felt like. That was pretty impressive. It shocked a lot of people. Linebacker Debo Williams, he was the heart and soul of the unit, finishing with 113 total tackles. Defensive tackle TJ Sanders led the team in sacks with 4.5. Chris, I'll go ahead and give you my overall grade. Give me a D for this one, right? Shane Beamer's coming off of a 8-5 and 7-6 season, so having a 5-7 season with Spencer Rattler at the helm, that really, really stings in his last year there.
Yeah, my grade is a D plus, so very similar there. Like I said, with the offensive side of the ball being the way it was, I think SC's in a weird spot, man. Like I said, I think Shane Beamer is a decent coach. I think he's the right fit there for South Carolina. I do. But I think he also overachieved his first 2 years a little bit. This year, people were expecting more. Just didn't happen. So D plus for the Gamecocks.